And we're back with Sullivan County Mayor Richard Venable talking about a variety of issues that he is facing and the county commissioners are facing. One thing that we talked about earlier that we want to touch on in depth a little bit more is you've been in the process of trying to save some money for Sullivan County this year, and you've been pretty successful at that, I think.
Well, we think we have. The commissioners worked awfully hard. Health care, for example, individual family health care. The county has 680 employees, and we have more than 1,400 people insured under the county health care program. And we were self-insured for 2 years, and our experience with that was not the best. But we had a good insurance committee led by Commissioner Mark Bowery, and went out and sought proposals this year, and we were able to save taxpayers over $1 million off of an $8 million bill for our health care for them. So the county commission did a really good thing this year. We've got a better program than we had, and at a cheaper rate.
What about the possibility of some tax increases, or we've already, I think, had one? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that right now? Well,
I don't see any tax increases in the near future. We, as we looked at our first year in office, Larry Bailey came back as accounts and budget director with us, and we had a lot of ground to make up. Our reserve accounts, we had a couple of findings on our state audit that we didn't have the sufficient reserves that the controller would like for us to have. As an example, in workers' compensation, we didn't have the reserve accounts there. We didn't have a reserve on our insurance, our self-insured insurance. So we had to have a tax increase last year. County Commission exhibited a lot of courage in doing that. I think we got a lot of support from the community to fix the problems. Nobody likes a tax increase, but a lot of people understand it. So I don't see anything in the near future. The next time we'll probably have to look at the tax rate will be in relationship to schools, and what the school board and what the county commission decide, what direction they decide to go in that.
Where do you think that, what would that process be like?
Well, we're in of course, we had the facility study conducted by a firm. They made recommendations to the school board. The school board has at this point made a recommendation on phase one of the school program. That is to build, in phase one, build a new high school in the western end of the county, and most likely somewhere between the airport and Colonial Heights, and to build a middle school in the eastern part of the county to consolidate Holston Valley, Bluff City, and Mary Hughes Middle School. Okay. That will save a tremendous amount of money. Those are the things that are in phase one. There's been a number applied to that of $140 million, which is a really rough estimate to do that work. And I met with two of our standing committees this week and explained how we might fund that. And I emphasize that these are round numbers, and there are various assumptions in these numbers. But assuming that we need $140 million, first thing you look at is what's in the budget now. What do we not have to pay for again? And in 2019, we retire a county debt of that has a debt service today of $1.9 million. The consultant told us when we close these 275,000 square feet of space that we don't need, that we will have $4.3 million a year savings in our school budgets. So you take that 1.9 and 4.3, that's 6.2. So the debt service on $140 million is $9.8 million a year. So you take the 9.8 you need, we've already got 6.2. So that leaves with 3.6 that we've got to fund. The other important factor in that is how do you pay back that 3.6? Do you have a tax increase? Well, we would hope going forward we would be able to plan and not have a tax increase. But probably worst case is that we would have a slight tax increase to fund that $3.6 million. And I'll bore you to death with numbers, but when I left office, or in the middle of my term in 2004, our county property taxes produced $245,000 per penny of property tax. $245 per penny. This year, a penny produces $348,000. So there's been a substantial increase in 10 years. And if you run that out through the next 10 years and say, okay, if we have the same growth that we had over the last 10 years, which, as you probably remember, we had 5 years recession from 2009 to 2014. But if we just have the same growth, that penny in 2024 will be worth $499,000 each, and you wouldn't need a new tax rate. So if you take it back to 2019, the year 2019, when these schools are slated to come online, our property tax rate should produce around $424,000 per penny, and that would result in using those numbers now. And everybody's got their own numbers,
right.
But using that number of 3.6 million divided by 424 gives you 8.5 cents. So that's probably worst case. There was a number in the paper today, 7.1 cent increase, and that's possible under different scenarios. But on reviewing the information I gave the commission 2 days ago, on reviewing it, I've found that to be very conservative, somewhere between 7 and 8.5 cents.
When you see that possibility of a tax increase of any kind, it always gets everyone's attention.
It gets everyone's attention, but what we got to remember is that's 2018-19. Between now and then, I don't think anybody on the county commission, there is no appetite there for any tax increase.
That's good news to hear.
I don't think it'll happen. And should we have the growth, and this one thing I reminded the commission, Eastman Chemical Company just announced last year an investment of $1.6 billion in our community. That investment will be coming online. So we got a bright future here, and it doesn't necessarily include property tax increases to fund the things we need, John.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more about the economy when we come back. We were visiting with Sullivan County Mayor Richard Venable. This is Closer Look.